welcome into the 2019 training camp live stream presented by Huntington Bank. I'm Daniella Bruce, joined by Art Regner and Carley Johnston. Guys, it's been an exciting week so far, but hey, we still have more for everybody.
That's right. It's just the beginning. I mean, we have prospects tournament, but now we have main training camp. It's just getting started.
Well, of course, we can say we're at the site of the championship Detroit Red Wing prospect team that won the West Memorial Cup, and so it's been a great start, and it was great to see the Red Wings here today. Some of them had to get their physicals, and Nicholas Cronwalls were here, Henrik Zetterberg's here. Obviously Chris Draper, but it was it really now feels like training camp, I guess is what I'm trying to say. Nothing against the prospects. They acquitted themselves very well by winning a championship, but it's pretty exciting to be here.
And guys, we of course will bring you all of that action throughout training camp. We'll be back tomorrow with a live stream starting at noon, Saturday at noon live from practice, and then 5:30 for the Red Wings alumni game. And Sunday, of course, you won't want to miss the red and white game. That will be everybody's favorite event of the weekend, and you guys will be all over the coverage on that one.
Well,
that's right.
Well, certainly. I mean, that red and white game, and for years that people who've covered this event, the Red Wing team was pretty set for like decades. It seemed like, but that red and white game, there's jobs available. Steve Eisen has made that clear. That is going to be a raucous affair because guys are going to be competing very, very hard. I mean, from tomorrow, beginning at noon, from what we're going to see on the ice, all the way through for the 9 preseason games that they play. There's going to be a lot of good hockey played, and you're going to see guys competing very, very hard because, as I said, there's a lot of opportunity on this Red Wing team, and for many, many, many years, that wasn't the case.
I knew that was going to happen. I was like, she's ready. But I was just going to ask you, you've been up here a few years now. What's exciting about the red and white game?
To me, I mean, especially this year, just because Eisenman's been saying all along, spots are available, especially for these young guys. There are so many good young guys here at Prospects Tournament, and now that they were invited to training camp, it'll be cool to see them in the red and white game with some of these vets. Kind of, a little bit of a vets versus rookies kind of show here during the red and white game.
Yeah,
I'm excited to see it.
Me too, and we'll talk a lot more about that because we have the roster, so we'll break that down for you guys. But first, let's take a look back at that championship game, Detroit versus Dallas.
Well, we welcome you all, and the puck is dropped atop the center ice circle. We're underway in the championship game of the 2019 Prospects Tournament here in Traverse City. Kufner eases his way, left circle, feet out in front. Lucas Savages with a shot, rebound, and the wing score. That's Lucas Savages who sent it across. Gregor McLeod was the man on the right side who fired it in. The line. Got it to the right circle. McLeod with a backhand. He scores! Giovanni Smith.
Wow, he scored twice.
I don't know if that first shot went in.
I thought it did, actually.
Here's Kufner moving in. Circles the net, trying to make a play. Sends it out in front. He scores! May have deflected off a Dallas player. Got it to Zadina at the right point. Skates over to the middle of the blue line. Hands it off for Rossi. Left circle feed. Here's a shot. Save made. Rebound out in front. Smith's on the doorstep of the wing. Score! Joe Veleno! Veleno put it home to tie the game. Power play goal. And it's 4-4 to Rossi. Veleno with a shot. He scores! Joe Veleno with the goal that gives Detroit a 5-4 lead. To the corner, and the puck comes to Giovanni Smith. Backhands it out to center. Veleno to Smith. He's breaking in cold. He moves in, and he is knocked down on a penalty coming up.
But he scored, Giovanni Smith.
He scores. A huge goal, his second of the game for Giovanni Smith. A save made by Romeo, and the game is over.
That was an incredible game. Honestly, all of them were pretty exciting. But that championship game, Art, I think for a minute you might have been counting the Red Wings out of that one.
Well, certainly I was. But then again, I counted them out of the first 3 because they came back in every game. But I really think that what was really interesting, I talked to Ben Simon today, the podcast I do, the Red and White Authority. We did
plug.
it. Yes, DetroitRedWings.com, episode 128. But anyway, Ben was talking about the fact is that they weren't together for a long period of time, but Ben talked to, Coach Blashill and his staff, and there was a certain way, and it was basic, very basic, that they wanted, this Red Wing prospect team to play, which is the Red Wing way, and they were able, and which shows you the high skill level on this team, because they were able to grasp that. And one of the other things that they did, which they knew that they would have to do, they only practiced once, but they practiced on the penalty kill and the power play. And let's be honest, it's the power play that won, that won the championship for the Red Wings, because they were dynamite on the power play.
Oh my gosh, yeah, that power play was killer. It was really exciting to watch that team improve game by game. I mean, it started off a little struggle.
4-1 to Chicago. I mean, that first game, right?
Yeah, it wasn't great to watch. But then as the Prospects tournament continued, the team just got better and better. And Ben Simon even said that he's like, this team is just improving game by game, and I'm excited to see them in the championship.
One of the important things, because the Red Wings were so good for so long, they really didn't draft very high. I mean, until they drafted Philip Zadina 2 years ago at 6th overall, and then this year Mo Seider. The highest they had drafted, you have to go back, I think it was 1991 or something. Keith Primo, 3rd overall. Marty Lapointe, 1990, was 10th overall. And then they were in the mid-20s to maybe trading away their first-round pick,
right,
because, they were trying to accumulate, veteran talent to win the Cup. So now I think what we're seeing, I think they've brought in 33 new hockey players in the last 3 years. They've got 10 more in this year's upcoming draft that's going to be in Montreal in June 20th and 21st. So what we're seeing now, and I think that this is why the Red Wings, people are saying, God, it was the only second time they won the Prospects tournament.
Right.
Well, they didn't have any prospects for a long period of time because they were just so good. And so now we're seeing the cupboard is not bare.
Mm-hmm.
It's just going to take a little time for these kids to develop, and there's a lot of high-end talent on this Detroit team, the Detroit roster in the organization, I guess I should say. So I'm pretty excited, and I think, again, these live streams, this red and white game, you're not going to want to miss it, because guys are going to be, they're playing for keeps. They're going to be playing for keeps.
Yeah, you have talked about how it's going to be a really intense training camp. But I think one thing about Prospects Tournament that we have to realize, too, is these guys are never going to play together again. Like, that same team will never be together. And their chemistry was just really good for a team that may never be together again.
It was amazing. And not just on the ice, off the ice, too. I mean, these guys are buddies. So it was really cool to go in the locker room. And I'll toss us some sound I got after the championship game. It was really cool to go in there. They were all amped up. So let's see what they had to say in their own words.
I think we would have liked to probably have the lead most of the tournament, but I think it is what it is. We battled back, we showed a lot of character, and we ended up winning the game.
What does it mean to you to win this thing after losing in the championship game last year?
I think it means a lot. I think not just for us, but I think for the organization. I know, they haven't won in a couple of years, so it was nice to, finally have the championship under our belt and, lead it into next tournament for whoever's here.
I feel pretty pleased about what you did in this tournament with 7 goals.
Yeah, I mean, it was nice. I know points are nice and all, but I think, playing the right way and, winning hockey games, I think is what matters most at the next level. So, I mean, I found a way to contribute, and obviously it's good, but I think it's a better feeling to, I guess, win as a group. So.
What can you say about your line, particularly at the end of the game when obviously you guys needed goals?
I think we needed some awakening. So Coach Simon managed to mix some lines a little bit, see if it get anything going. They played a really good game back there, so we needed something to give us a spark, and I think with a couple different line combinations, we were able to get that little spark.
Why do you think Giovanni Smith is so effective out there?
I think he's just a big boy. I mean, he's got some good skill. He's works hard in the corners, skates well, and I think guys are scared of him, so he always got the puck. And he makes room for the guys on his line. So when we have time and space with the puck, it's always nice. But he opens the game out for us a lot.
What do you have to say about Mo Seider? It seemed like he was out there every other shift.
Yeah, I know. I don't think he's used to playing that much, but I mean, he loves being on the ice. He loves contributing. He likes helping the team win. And I think he's happy that we came out with the W today.
Dan, did you know that it was in? They were calling a penalty.
Yeah, I mean, that's just a finesse play by me, but around the net. So, you can't really teach that.
So you knew what you were doing the whole time.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Winning this, I mean, this goal, the interesting thing that I found was that you guys as a team, you haven't been together that long, is that you know that after tonight, this team is never going to be the same. To win this, that was your goal for this guy, the bond, because there did seem to be a team chemistry, a sense of team, which is sometimes difficult because you're trying to also impress the Red Wings, and you kind of get caught up in yourself. You guys didn't seem, egos were checked at the door, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, that's just Detroit scouting doing a great job and getting good guys around getting good players, but also good guys that, good personality. So it makes it easier. Guys who have egos to come together and gel together to make a good team, and that's what it's all about.
Do you feel like that chemistry is part of the reason you guys are taking that trophy home tonight?
Absolutely.
Your first prospects tournament, you're going home a champion. How do you feel?
Yeah, it's been awesome. I think we have a great team, and obviously the tournament means a lot for the organization, so that was a huge step winning that thing. I think last year the guys were very close and lost in the final. And yeah, everybody is excited for main camp already.
This whole tournament, you've been out on the ice a lot. How are you feeling?
Pretty tired, to be honest. It was a lot. I wasn't used to that, but it's awesome. You get the chances in power play and PK, and I tried to figure out my role, and I think that was very well.
Did you feel any additional pressure being the Red Wings' first-round draft this year coming into Prospects Tournament?
No, I don't think so. I mean, I got 3 years' time to make the team. There's no pressure at all. First of all, I just want to step into the tournament, perform well, and I think I did it. And now I'm excited for main camp.
I have to ask you about the team chemistry because it seemed like you guys are all pretty good buddies. I mean, how is that? How does it transition from the locker room onto the ice?
Yeah, I don't know. First of all, everybody's, I would say, in the same age. I think that's a big advantage too, and everybody's looking for each other, and there's nobody alone at lunch or at supper. So I don't know. It was an awesome feeling at the beginning, and we do that on the ice too, and looking for a nice place. Yeah, and I think that was one part winning the championship.
All right, the 2019 NHL Prospects Tournament champions. How did it feel to lift that trophy?
Yeah, I mean, it felt really good. We guys put in a lot of hard work, and we think once we got to the championship game, we were really excited to get after and win, and it feels really good to get the come from behind victory again.
Walk me through that roller coaster of a last game, the championship game with so many highs and lows. Tug of war game. What was it like out there?
Yeah, I mean, it was tough. I think the ebbs and flows of the game were really evident. We were playing really well at the beginning, got some goals, and then they made a really hard push and got a 2-goal lead there. But third period has kind of been our period, so we're confident in our abilities and came back and got some quick goals there, and the momentum just started going.
I was talking to Seider, and it's your first Prospects Tournament here as well. I mean, you've played with some of these guys, but what's it like coming into this locker room and having that kind of chemistry, and how does that transition onto the ice?
Yeah, I think everyone's just really comfortable with each other, and I think that just helps us on the ice, communicating and being able to tell each other, when you make bad plays, when you make good plays, and not feeling too awkward or anything like that. So I think that's been a huge part of our success and part of the reason why everyone's doing so well.
It was a fun game. I think that we obviously did some things that we could have been a little better in, but I think all week this group's been pretty tight, pretty resilient, and to come back from a deficit like that to win a game going to camp is going to be huge for a lot of these guys' confidence.
Where do you think was the difference in tonight's game? Where do you think the game turned? Because it looked like there were so many times where you could have folded, but you didn't.
Well, I think we started to get pucks deep in the third period instead of, I think the second period is a little bit too individualistic, and we're trying to do things on our own, and as a result, we turned the puck over, and now we're coming back in our own end, and it just had a big disconnect in the second, and then at the end of the second period, we were down by one, and we weren't, it's not a bad spot to be in, but I think we only had 15 shots after 2 periods, so law of probability is not going to give you too many goals with 15 shots after 2.
How about the contributions of Giovanni Smith when you added him to that top line?
Yeah, well, he was playing well, and you reward guys when they're playing well, and Texas had some big, heavy defensemen, some big forwards, and we were dumping the puck in, but we weren't protecting it very well. And Giovanni is a big body, he's strong, and that's why we put him to hold on to pucks and then let Veleno and Hiroshi do their thing, and some of the other guys played heavy as well.
To win this tournament, especially after you fell in the championship game last year.
Yeah, well, we were talking about that earlier. Yeah, we can never seal the deal. And Noobs was here too, and he was saying, I've been in plenty of championship games, just never won one. So, that's great, Mike. But no, it's and that's what we talked about after the second period. It doesn't matter if it's a pickup game or a summer tournament before training camp. You want to win, and to be a part, you have to recognize how to play the game to win. Whether that's playing simple, or if you're a goal scorer, you got to score a goal. If you're a defensive minded forward, play some defense. Just kind of play to your identity and try and win this game. Do the little things that are going to add up to big things.
How pleased are you as a coach that this team did come together, faced adversity every game, came from behind in every game to win this tournament? I mean, did you have a feel when you had this group on the ice that they were capable of doing what they were able to do?
Well, they were, I think from the beginning of the week, you could tell they're good kids. And that was the first from Kim Brody, who takes care of all the logistics behind the scenes. That was her first impression. They're great kids. So, and you could see that on the ice, in the locker room, and I think that speaks to the kind of the character of the people that we drafted. So I think it's great for the organization.
I know you said that you
An overall impressive prospect tournament for the Red Wings. Looking at their numbers here, 24 goals in 4 games and 9 for 9 on the power play. I think the offense really showed what they can do on this prospects team, and one of those guys specifically being Joe Veleno, who wanted to have a great prospects tournament.
Well, certainly. Joe wants to make the Red Wings. I mean, that's his goal. He's said it over and over. I think he was a little disappointed last year that he didn't make the Red Wings. He played in a couple of preseason games before he went back to Drummondville in the Q in the Quebec Major Junior Hockey League. He had 104 points. He is a great two-way player. I know we talked about it during our live streams of the game. He was a plus 65.
Yeah.
For a junior hockey player to be a plus 65 is pretty amazing. But I quickly want to say one thing. Red Wings had 24 goals in this prospect tournament, which was by far the most. But that 9 of 19 with the man advantage. And Taro Hiroshi after the game goes, what was our percentage on the power play? I go, it had to be right around 50%. I was a little wrong. It was 47.34%.
So
but
close,
that's still, yeah, I was.
You're rounding up, right?
I actually thought they were over 50%. It seemed every time they had the man advantage, they were scoring. But that was pretty amazing. Again, that's a testament to the drafting and the talent that Detroit has been able to assemble the last couple of years. And so that was pretty impressive. And Joe, 6 power play goals. What more can you say? And he has put himself in a nice position. It'll be interesting to see what he does now, not only up here in Traverse City over the next 4 days, beginning tomorrow, but what he does in the preseason games, because he's going to want to play all 9 of them. And he's not going to be able to play all 9 of them, but he definitely wants to play all 9 of them.
I have to brag a little bit and say that Joe Veleno was my player to watch for this next upcoming season when we talked about it in development camp. So coming and seeing him get 8 points in the tournament, I mean, that's incredible. It's cool to see him transition into coming from the QMHL and then going into playing with NHL, AHL players and seeing how he can keep up, and he certainly can. I mean, there's no doubting him whatsoever.
Right, and we don't bring this up often enough. Only 4 or 5 players in the history of the Canadian Hockey League, which is the Western League, the Ontario League, and the Quebec League, received exceptional status. If you're going to play junior hockey, you have to be 16 years old. A guy named Connor McDavid was 15. A guy named Joe Veleno was 15, and they let him play in that league. That's why.
Parallel universe there.
Well, but I'll tell you what's interesting, because Joe's 19.
Right.
Usually you have to have 4 years in the Canadian Hockey League in order to be eligible to play in the AHL.
Okay.
But since he had that exceptional status at 15, he's either in Detroit or Grand Rapids this year. Because people say, well, wait a second, how can Veleno? They keep asking me, hey, what's the deal with Veleno? How can he be in Grand Rapids? Doesn't he have to go back to junior? No, he's fulfilled that obligation because of that exceptional status. So if you ask Joe, he's a Red Wing, and he will be a Red Wing very soon. He's going to be fast track, ladies and gentlemen. But the thing that I also like about him, he worked extensively not only with his coaches in Drummondville last year, but also with Sean Horkoff and Dan Cleary. They wanted him to become a 200-foot player and improve defensively, and he certainly has.
Yeah, and that's what I was going to bring up. Sean Horkoff mentioned him specifically when we interviewed him, and he said becoming a 200-foot player, playing both sides of the puck was a big thing for Joe, and he thinks he's improved a lot. But let's move on to somebody else that played well, Ryan Kufner. We talked about him a lot in development camp because he did play with the Red Wings at the end of the season, and I don't want to say that he didn't do well, but he was there with Taro Hirose, who did very, very well. So Ryan Kufner seemed quiet. But since development camp, he has been goal crazy there.
I love Ryan Kufner personally as a hockey player and as a person. I mean, he's just a great guy, very easy to talk to, the happiest person you'll ever meet. But to come out there and see him get 8 points in the prospects tournament after he, like you said, he was kind of the underdog almost in development camp. He didn't really shine like he should have or could have had Taro Hirose, not then Taro Hirose. But it is very cool to see him get those 3 goals.
Well, he's a Princeton Tiger. Princeton just named the #1 university in the United States, by the way.
Oh, thank you, Art, for that fun fact of the day.
And I'm in between 2 Michigan Staters. Michigan was right up there, too, by the way. But I don't know where they were. But anyway. Get back.
I'm ignoring that.
All right, sure. Sounds like a true Michigan.
I am sorry. I apologize. But anyway, but getting back to Kufner, he's the all-time leading goal scorer for Princeton, and he's second all-time points for the Princeton Tigers. He's economics major, bright kid. But
great guy.
We talked about it. His role was a little different on the Red Wings in his 10 games. Hirose was a top 6 forward or top 9. He saw more ice time, and he played special teams. He was on the power play, and Hirose earned that.
Right.
Kufner was, kind of a plugger, fourth-line guy.
A little thrown into the fire a bit.
Right.
Yeah.
So his role was a little bit different. So I'm not going to say, give Taro all the credit in the world because he's a very talented young man. But Kufner, when he scored those goals in development camp, remember Danielle? We were talking about this. It was, hey, he just needed a little confidence, and he carried it over. We talk about Joe Veleno, 8 points. Ryan Kufner tied him.
Right, absolutely.
So 8 points. So, Kufner, who I think people were ticketing to Grand Rapids for sure this year, who knows? I mean, he's got as good an opportunity as anybody.
And let's go on to another guy who is quickly becoming a fan favorite here in Detroit, Moritz Seider. This was the first time we really got to see him in action against other teams. We saw him at development camp, but that was just the Red Wings. So seeing him play against all of these teams, and he really kept it cool in the back. He had 4 points, and I just watching him play, he always seemed like he had control of what was happening. His decisions were great.
It was very cool to see him here. I was excited to see him here because, we saw him a little bit in development camp, but I really wanted to see him against other people in the league. So when I saw him here, I saw him on the ice almost every single game, almost every single shift, and you can tell when he's out there, you see him. It's not like he goes unnoticed. Like, he's up and down the ice. He's making calls. He's dominant on the ice.
I don't think he made a mistake. I can't remember him making one mistake. And I was joking with Ben Simon about, I know they didn't keep, the statistics were a little loose, to say the least, especially total ice time. But I said he must have played at least over 30 minutes a game. And he said, well, he was out there a lot. He goes, but remember, and they did when Alex Regula got hurt against Toronto, he had, they were down to 5D, but Seider played the right side. He played the left side.
Played the whole sheet of ice.
Right, exactly. And, I know I keep saying this, but Steve Yzerman said when they drafted him, and I actually talked to Ken Holland about this at the summer showcase back in late July, early August. That was at the USA Hockey Arena in Plymouth. He said that Steve watched him a lot over there in Europe. Steve kept gravitating back to him. And what Steve really liked about him, according to Ken, and obviously I believe Ken, is that he liked his high hockey IQ. And I think we saw that. The way he anticipates, the way he knows when to pinch in, when not to pinch in, the way he directs people. Daniella, you pointed it out several times. He was the guy before a period would start. And Carley, you saw it too. He would call the troops together, so to speak. He's the guy that's telling them what to do, where we're going to go. He's 18 years old. I think some of that has to do with playing in the DL in Germany, playing with men as an 18-year-old. But again, a word you're going to hear me say a lot for some of these prospects is fast track. Mo Seider told us earlier in the week that he does not want to go back to Germany. It's the Red Wings' call. They'll do what's best for him, but he may start off in Grand Rapids, but somewhere down the road.
Yeah.
Let's
What
hear
are you
it.
thinking?
Let's hear it.
I think he's going to be in Detroit. I mean, I really do. Because
I do
injuries
too.
happen. The blue line, unfortunately, Father
We have a
Time
lot of
catches.
vets.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Father Time catches up with all of us. You two
Right.
don't know about that yet, but it
No,
does.
not yet.
And so they're a little bit long in the tooth. So we'll see what happens. It'll be interesting to see, though, depending on how he adapts to the AHL game, if Steve will want him to come up. I think if he comes up, will they just let him go like Zadina last year for that 9 games?
Right, yeah.
Before, because they don't want to blow off that first year of his 3-year deal? Or is he here to stay? Because Dennis Chalowski, no one thought he was going to make it. He played 50-some-odd games last year for the Red Wings, and then he went down to Grand Rapids. But Seider's very, very intriguing, but he is going to be in Detroit sooner rather than later.
No, I agree. And I know a lot of people were questioning Yzerman's decision to draft him that high, but I think he's proven himself. It's been really cool to see him out on the ice, and not only is he all over the ice, making calls, like you said, calling the players to a huddle, but he's also pretty chippy. I mean, he's a pretty aggressive player.
Yeah, he had one incident where he kind of used his stick as a baseball bat. Mo, you don't want to do that. But aside from that, he's young. But the poise that he really has for a kid like that, and he is, he's a kid. 18 years old, and he was. What's really weird, as great as Joe Veleno was, every Red Wing prospect, and there were many of them that acquitted themselves, as I said, quite well during this tournament. Mo Seider's the talk of the.
he is.
Mo Seider's the talk right now. Everybody, because first of all, Steve, if you really weren't paying attention, I mean, he got up there. No, hey Vancouver, thank you. We love being here.
Straight to the point.
My Aunt Molly lives in the BC, and she's great. And hey, hello to you.
Aunt Molly.
He didn't do any of that stuff. It was like he made sure we're set with the 6th pick, the Detroit Red Wings for the German League, Moritz Seider. Boom, and Seider was like, freaking out. If you weren't paying attention, it was like, what? Who? Where? Did Detroit already pick? And that's because he knew what he wanted to do. He's all, and
no questioning.
That shows you about Steve too. He's all business.
Trust the Yzer plan, right?
Right.
Trust the Yzer plan.
I always have trusted you, Steve. It goes back years. You know that. But I mean, and look, right now it looks like this first pick, and and I'm prone to exaggeration, innuendo, and speculation. That's what I deal in. I mean, this is if this pans out, Steve. I don't know if his reputation can get any larger in Detroit, but it will get larger if Mo Seider starts his place for the Red Wings this year.
Well, he's going to have a lot of tough decisions to make this year. I believe
for
this
sure.
training camp lineup is pretty stacked. These prospects are pretty stacked. But let's take a look at the training camp rosters. We're going to start with Team Howe.
They're
Here you
stacked.
go. Yeah, Team Howe they look really good. Abdicator, Athanasiou, and you can see on there that we're going to have Seider playing on that line too with Lindstrom and Bowie, Daly, and Chalowski, and Green. So he's got some veteran defensive presence with him on that team.
Yeah, I would say probably at this point, I would say that that if looking at it, and again, why don't we say this very quickly? It's Team Delvecchio, Team Howe, and Team Lindsey. Team Delvecchio and Team Howe are going to be comprised of current Red Wings and guys that are really close to being on the team.
Right
Team
on the edge,
Lindsey is more of a prospects team.
Yep.
And so, but Team Howe, when you look at it, I think that Green's going to be paired with Mo Seider. I think Lindstrom will probably go with Daly. They're going to try to get the
vets and rookies together.
Vets and rookies together.
Right.
So this is a formidable team. Certainly when you look at it, Michael Rasmussen's there, Seider.
I'm looking at the person I'm excited to see back in a winged wheel sweater, and that's Valtteri Filppula. I mean, I'm excited for training camp just to see this guy back on the team. I mean, it's really like, it's a new team for him, so I'm excited to see how he's going to fit into this new team. But, I mean, that's a pretty stacked Team Howe is pretty stacked in my opinion.
Let's go on and look at Team Lindsey now. Art, as you mentioned, this is mostly prospects. Actually, it is all prospects if I'm looking at it. So one thing I did notice is Romeo is going to be there, the goalie that played the
Yes.
last 3 games of Prospects tournament, and he was phenomenal.
He was a star player, in my opinion.
Right, he was. He won the Ken Cal MVP award
Yes.
for the tournament.
Which people thought was an official award. I have to say.
It is, right? It is.
You've got to learn a lesson, and I tend to forget this. When you make stuff up, or I just created that award just because I always like to tease and Ken, people now believe it's true, and it is because you know why? Because I don't want to steal Todd Edwards' thunder here, but on Friday we're going to a fan actually designed a Ken Cal MVP trophy and sent it to us. So,
look at that.
I guess it is a real award. Now, if we can convince the Red Wings and the people at Center Ice to actually present it, then it'll be legit.
Well, we'll talk more about that when Ken joins us again tomorrow. He'll be back for the stream at noon. Let's move on to Team Del Vecchio, which is the team that I'm actually most excited about because of the forward crew that they have. It's Dylan Larkin, Anthony Mantha, Veleno, and Zadina are also on that in that lineup. So
right,
another stacked team.
Yeah.
Right, Jeff Blashill talked today to the media. Very few of us that were here at 9:15 this morning, and he said that he wanted it to two teams, Howe and Del Vecchio, to be mostly, as I said, either current Red Wings or guys that are close. But one thing that he is going to do is that Athanasiou is going to play very, very high up on a line, probably the second line, because Mantha, Larkin, and Bertuzzi are all going to be, that's their number one line from the moment
it's hard to stop them.
Right, since the moment they hit the ice tomorrow, they're going to play together exclusively. He's not going to break that line up. They're going to play all training camp together. They're going to play all preseason games together, and then obviously October 5th when they start the season in Nashville, that will be the line. I'm pretty sure it's going to start the game, but it doesn't really matter if you start the game or not in hockey. But that is definitively Detroit's number one line. If they can become a number one line, a dominant line that not only can score but shut down the other team's best line and play defense, which they're capable of doing, that would work. That will go a long way for the Red Wings to not only be a better team, but to be on the verge of perhaps being not a playoff team and then not so distant future, maybe even be a cup contender. They need that number one line, and those three kids have proved it.
Well, no, so let me ask you this. How do you think Mo Seider on defense for Team Howe will stack up against Team Delvecchio's first line?
Well, I will say this. Bertuzzi and Mantha have a little bit of a mean streak in them as well. And if Mo wants to try to test himself against those two, or if he takes a run at Larkin, he might be in Germany sooner than he thinks. No. Look, there's jobs. I mean, we've been saying this. I mean, the name of this camp is competition, and Steve wants it. He sees it. And if you're Jeff Blashill, you want to put the best team on the ice, right? And, there might be some tough decisions because of contracts and who to take. And, we haven't even talked about Joe Hicketts, who has to clear waivers. Will he clear waivers if he doesn't make the Red Wings and have to go down to Grand Rapids? Will another team claim him off the waiver wire? So there's a lot of intrigue surrounding this camp.
Absolutely.
Yeah, Art, don't get too much into it because we've still got a lot of stream for you this weekend. We'll be back tomorrow at noon live from practice. We'll talk about a lot of guys that we didn't touch on today. And then again, Saturday at noon, which is live from practice, 5:30, Red Wings alumni game on Saturday, and Sunday, of course, the red and white game.
Well, the red and white game, we should say this too. It's out all over. Jennifer Hammond was the first to report it. The Red Wings they're not going to name a captain thus far this year. They're going to go with 4 A's like they did last year. And obviously, Franz Nielsen, Justin Abdicator, Dylan Larkin, and the new one, because Nick Cromwell retired, is going to be no surprise really when you think about it, is Luke Glendening. So those are the 4 guys that will be wearing letters for Detroit, and they will be A's. As of yet, no C's, and according to what Jeff Blashill told M Live, is that he and Steve had extensive talks all during the summer, and Steve felt that until he gets more of a feel for this Red Wing club, he'd
Yeah.
rather not put a C on some player
I get
jersey yet. But it could be revisited. But as it stands now, they're going with 4 A's.
And I think that makes sense. It's a lot for a GM to come in, and he's just immediately going to have to name Dylan Larkin captain, which, of course, everyone would want to see. I don't think there's a Red Wings fan that would have
Right.
disagreed with that decision.
Right.
either.
If there's anybody that knows when you put a C on a young man, because I think Steve was all at
Yeah.
21
Yeah,
years
he
old.
gets it. He's been in that situation.
He's probably thinking, all right, he's starting to come into his own a little bit. I know he's from Detroit. I know people love him. He played for Michigan. Let's just let him still enjoy it and
I get
put
that.
the A on.
Yeah.
And you got 3 other guys there, and then eventually he'll be wearing the C. I would hope.
I think we have
Or
to trust
think.
their judgment on this one, and we'll go with our 4 alternate
Always,
captains
Steve.
for
We
the
never question you.
All right, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. We're excited to be here for all of training camp, and that first stream will be tomorrow at noon. I'm Daniella Bruce, and this is Art Regner and Carley Johnston. We'll see you guys tomorrow.